Good evening and welcome to the April 28, 2026 meeting of the Spackenkill Union Free School District Board of Education. I'd ask that you rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One quick announcement, we have Board Member Horvath attending in cyberspace. Item 2.01 is comments from the public on consent agenda items only. Do you have any public comment? Board discussion on the consent agenda? Richard?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda as written. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay, that brings us to item 6.01, final goals presentation.
Queuing it up. Yeah.
I can pull it up on my end.
Okay.
Okay.
I can just pull it up from Board Doc.
Since we're on
Okay.
board, since we're on board docs now.
That's right. Now it's working.
That was
I'm
working.
good. I can see it here on my other screen.
Okay, Richard.
Just put allow this time. So this is the.
This is the final goals presentation, but it's going to mimic what we did in January. So we did a lot talking about this in January, so some of this might be redundant because now a couple months later. So we had two main goals we were working on this year. The first one was dealing with facilities. So the first goal there was to identify district-wide facilities and programmatic needs to support district short and long-term strategic plan. And there was the objective, create a comprehensive inventory of repairs, upgrades, and enhancements to the district's physical plant to support current and proposed future instructional objectives. So the assessments were completed at the building level and the district level. I think we reported on this in January. So the building administration collaborating with the staff to create inventories of the physical plant, and the district level also. And that's a cool picture. I think that might have come from District Cohen. I think in one of the aerial shots. The energy audit, security audit, and mastered inventory have also been completed. So the architects and engineers completed assessments for the energy audit. Security audit, we dealt with it is in draft mode, but that is becoming final because the draft has been already looked at and sent back to them. And the master inventory is complete, including the BCS reports, the energy audits, everything that we have to start making some decisions. The master inventory, we're talking the building level assessments, what we just said, district level assessments, recommendations from the two audits. Next step, and this was part of the process, is to put together a district-wide facilities committee to kind of look at all of the items compiled. And this would really be members of the district, the community, our experts, legal counsel, engineers, or architects. And we have to define the structure, we need subcommittees, and then come up with a schedule. So that is phase where we are now that we have not launched into, but that was part of our plan. As we talked about, this was almost like a 2-year goal, or it could even be longer depending upon what is decided to do with all of the needs of the district. Here's to just kind of summarize. We did the assessments, we did the energy security audits, we did the master inventory, and now we put together the committee to then take the recommendations for the future. Future could be a lot of different things. One of the things it could lead to is a capital project for all of the items that you feel need to be done. Second goal was dealing with AI, and we've talked about this a lot at various different meetings. We heard a little bit from the buildings previously. We hear a little bit more to try to get a little granular. Some of the items in this report right now are going to be more at the higher level, but we also wanted the board to kind of understand some of the, the granular level of what's actually happening in classrooms and things like that. So we're going to do a piece of that today too. The handout you got is going to deal with some of the beginning of this stuff. So the goal was to develop comprehensive AI guidance for our district, in the following areas. Student data privacy related to the use of AI, that's been a big thing. AI literacy for all stakeholders. Academic integrity was important to uphold. Address equity and bias related to AI, and prioritize a human-centered approach. That's something that we've learned throughout. I think even a lot of the stuff we've done with Marcella is we want humans to be part of all of this. And all the conferences and the stuff, the PD we've done says that. You need the human involved, especially if some of the hallucinations and things happen and you want humans to be judging it. So looking at kind of all those things that were on the previous slide, the AI documents, they are complete. Policy review is complete. Policy development is complete. And you can see the word ongoing, and you almost put ongoing on all of these, because even the AI guidance that you have at your place, it's going to change. But we needed stuff in place to help us to where we are right now. But it's ever changing. I think you're going to learn that when Marcella talks, like it's changing. So a lot of times you're going to see that, but we did complete what we set out to do to really put us in a good spot right now. Professional development, we're going to learn more about shortly. And legal and policy review, we are good at this moment. We do believe that there might be some new policies to look at in the future about AI. And Isabel will probably be releasing some probably as soon as next year. You think? Maybe even sooner, maybe this year. So where we are right now, we're in a good spot, but they will probably recommend something as all these changes keep coming at a pretty fast pace. Secondary schools, they developed their guidance. Community outreach. The schools were kind of in charge of updating their group. We will have, it's on our website, and I do believe because of this board meeting, it now will be in our community newsletter on Friday, talking about some of the work that we've done. And then we also, we participated in AI circles, which was with a bunch of other districts, kind of learned from them and kind of learned together. One thing we found, and I know Mr. Farrell, D'Souza, you're on it too, is that we seem to be a little bit ahead of some of the other districts that might have been in that. So that's good and bad, I guess. we could have got more out of it, but we're also, we're doing pretty well. It was good to learn about too. That's it, that's one. So before we go to questions, let's, want to switch over?
So?
Yeah, and then answer questions. I might need to turn it on. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Got the clicker? Yes. Thank you.
Give one of those to Rich.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. So as Dr. Fanuelli said, our district is really at the forefront of AI. We are lucky enough to be supported by all of you and our administration. So tonight what I'm going to share with you is a little bit of background. I know we talked about that before. And then I'm going to show you some examples of how AI is used in the classroom. So as the tech integrator, I do push into classrooms, especially K-5. I'm in there often. And I start AI with the kids in 2nd grade. So tonight you'll see some of their work. They're really, really excited about it. And what I always start with is a definition of AI. So for the students, I always tell them that it's a machine making human decisions. And we talk about what that means. And what that means for you in your pocket is your smartphone, right? So now we're able to use facial recognition with our phones. With some of our students, it's kind of interesting. They're often on YouTube or things are suggesting their next video to watch, their next song, and I explain to them that that's all AI. Also the navigation, we talk about that. I talk to them about how my mom used to sit in the front of the car with the atlas as my dad drove. That's such a foreign concept to these students, but that's where we talk about now the machine is making that decision to tell us to go around the construction or there's something in the roadway up ahead, to kind of bring it down to their level. And of course, they're very familiar with those personal assistants of Siri and Alexa and Nervin.
That's such an interesting point. I think everyone in this room, maybe not Claire,
Yeah.
remember the maps in your trunk
Yeah.
or in your belt compartment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then like, you know, when I even say the word atlas, they're like, what is that? I'm like, it was a big book of maps, you know, and still like my kids, you know, like to look at maps. So up until recently we had one in the car and, you know, we travel a lot and they got to kind of see. But now we don't need that anymore.
Don't forget the arguments about the map reading too,
Yes.
between parents.
Absolutely.
Key feature.
So as a district, our AI journey went way back to 2023, January of 2023. We started gaining knowledge. We started our exploration, our journey. That's when we met Jerry Creasy, who's been our district liaison. We've had him in several times for different superintendent's conference days. As that journey started, we've always encouraged staff to use AI and expose them to different tools of AI. And that's where our professional development started. I myself am constantly trying to attend different conferences, whether they're online or in person, to keep up with it. But it's really difficult for me to stay on top of that as well. So in 2025, we continued educating our staff. We've been fortunate enough to have superintendent's conference days, virtual tech academies, all revolving around AI and having conversations with our staff. And now this year, like Dr. Fanuelli just said, we were able to put our AI guidance into practice. So we kind of explored the tools and the way we wanted to use it in the classroom before we built our guidance. And that's actually what myself and the team at the AI Circle worked on the most, was our AI guidance for our district. And this year especially, I've been encouraging staff to make sure at the secondary level they do have a syllabus statement in their syllabus regarding AI. So for teacher use, they're using it as a cognitive partner. Their design creation, of course, but they can go back and forth with the AI with, you know, many of them have really great ideas, but the execution sometimes is difficult because they're trying to meet the needs of all the students in their classroom. So they can use AI as that cognitive partner. They can help reach a variety of students, and they bring their ideas to life. So sometimes that used to take them hours to do. With AI as that assistant now, they're able to do that a little more easily. As for the differentiation of our students, all of our students, obviously at various levels, we are always encouraging our teachers to meet their students where they're at. So helping differentiate by providing scaffolds, by leveling lexile levels of text, and even using AI chatbots to help the students better understand the curriculum content is definitely one of the uses that the teachers can do for the students. I put up translations up there. We have a great E&L staff, but most of our E&L staff are not in every single classroom. So it's very easy now. Google Translate actually got taken away from our students due to EdLaw 2D compliance. So now the teachers are being asked, obviously, to provide that for the students. And even in our small district, we have 23 different languages spoken. So finding a tool that translates that correctly is another use of AI. And of course, like I said, the content creation, the lessons, the scaffolds, all of that. And now with the use of AI, a lot of our teachers are now better able to provide our students different choices of assignments. So we're going to see now with the Portrait of a Graduate, the demonstration of knowledge. So, having the students have a choice whether or not they want to write an essay, do a presentation, or make a short video. The teacher has the ability to quickly make those scaffolds and those rubrics using AI, and now allowing the students or the teachers to give the students choices. So teacher guidance, of course, we always want to make sure our software is EdLaw 2D compliant. We ourselves have not purchased any AI software in the district. Anything that we are currently using, we are using the free version of. Gemini is built into our Google product, so we do ask that teachers use that instead of ChatGPT. But they are using other tools such as Brisk, such as School AI, and we do, if personally identifiable information is needed for that, we do have an EdLaw 2D agreement with them. We have been very specific with teachers to put no personally identifiable information into AI, including student pictures, their faces, that's personally identifiable information, their name, their full name, any date of birth. If they're using AI to gather data, take the names out of the data and use student numbers instead. So we've been very careful with that. Of course, we encourage the staff to verify the outputs and check it for bias and ethical use as well. So the next thing is what I passed out to you. So in our AI guidance, we thought it was best for our teachers to use a rating scale when it came to AI use in their classroom. So I was able to provide that because I know the text is a little small on the screen there. So if the teacher would like the students to use AI on an assignment, they can say, okay, for this assignment we're going to use AI level 3, AI just for collaboration. Or for this assignment we're going to have no AI, it's going to be a level 1. So Leon Furs is an innovator when it comes to AI, and he was suggested to us by Jerry Creasy, so we've adapted this scale in our work here. Does anybody have any questions about that? So as for professional development, I've been running leveled classes. So those classes are for 6 hours, and I actually run in the evening. So sometimes from 6 to 7, 7 to 8 at night. Level 1 is just an exploration of tools. Level 2 is instructional redesign. So the teachers are taking their lessons and redesigning them, either using AI or having redesigning those lessons to have the students incorporate AI. Level 3 is AI for differentiation, and we're not just talking about our special education students or our E&L students, but I encourage our staff to look at those students that are exceptional or gifted. Let's meet them at their level 2 and encourage them to do more. And then level 4 is redesigning the assessment, and level 5 I am working on, and it's coming soon. So 32% of our staff have taken at least one of these levels. Many have taken many more. I've been running them, by season, spring, summer, fall, and winter. And we've had a lot of interest in the classes, and thankfully, with the support of the administration, I've been able to kind of add the levels as we went. Initially, level 1, we started a collaboration with Wappingers and Pine Plains as a cohort. They have since dropped off, but I've kept our levels going. Professional development, so I teach monthly teachers' techs. Our tech fellows also have been teaching teachers' techs, not monthly, but as a tech fellow, they are asked to present, do at least one presentation a year. We have tech fellow meetings where I bring in speakers or I teach the tech fellows new tools. We've been fortunate where I'm setting up, will be our 6th year of Virtual Tech Academy, so that'll be coming soon. Last year was a really heavy specific AI component, and that will be continuing this year. Of course, superintendent's conference days. I've been invited to principals meetings to teach our administration how to use AI, and as we talked about before, the AI circles. So I'm pretty proud to say that over 100 PDs have been offered in regards to AI since 2023. I think that's unheard of in any other district. So now for the fun, the students' use. So many of our students use it as a learning partner or a personal tutor. So for our secondary students, they do have access to Gemini on their accounts. It's part of our G Suite, and we do encourage them to use it. I know Dan Doherty told you last Board of Ed meeting that I went on to their positivity meetings and I taught them about Notebook LM, and I talked to the students also about Gemini, so they have those options for themselves. So there is opportunity for self-directed learning and research with stuff like Notebook LM, which I'll show you tonight, and Perplexity. For our creativity and collaboration, they can the students can use things such as Canva, which is what I made this presentation on. There's all sorts of opportunity on Canva to incorporate AI, and any other photo generation tools such as Padlet, and as well Google is having it built right in as well. And the accessibility and differentiation for our students. So we've been using a program called ReadWrite that we've been using it since I took this role about 10 years ago. So what that does is it takes anything on screen, the students can listen to it, they can level the text, they can highlight important information, they can gather those highlights. So that's all forms of AI we've been using for a while, it just wasn't necessarily called that. They can also have passages read to them, you know, even if they're in 10th grade, we encourage them to put access Gemini and say, you know, switch this to a 6th grade reading level. So the content is accessible, but they're getting the same content as their peers. So we do not want the students to be using it for cognitive offloading is the term that's being used. Not to have the students, hey, you know, summarize this entire book so they don't have to read it. We are definitely not encouraging that. We want to use AI with our students for cognitive growth. So this is an example of 2nd grade students. So we are working on imaginative narratives in 2nd grade. So they had to create a character that they are going to write a short story about. So what you're looking at is Padlet, and this is like a collaborative kind of whiteboard sort of thing, but they have an AI image generator built in that I'm able to use with students. So they were able to take a character, give it could be any type of character, give it a setting, and the character had to do something. So you could see the cat on the beach eating a hot dog and ice cream. So very obscure pictures, but the students then are so excited to write about it because they have this creative image to go with it. So this was an activity I did also in 2nd grade called AI or Not. So the students themselves created AI images, again on Padlet, and we put them onto Google Slides. And then I went through the slides and added real images to the slides. Then we passed the slide deck out to the entire class, and the students had to decide whether or not the images were AI or not. So if you look at that 2nd row, okay, the tennis player, it's the AI image is actually the one on the right, and I will say the AI image generation is getting much better than it was. We used to tell the students to look at their hands because sometimes they have a 6th finger or a funny knuckle, but now it's getting much better. The 2nd image there of the 2 dogs, it's the dog on the left is the AI image. The cat in the tree is the image on the left. And and the whale surfacing is the image on the right. So you can see it's pretty difficult to tell the difference, so the students really enjoyed this activity. This was an activity I did in the second grade AIS class. The students were learning digraphs, and they were a particularly difficult group to engage. So I met with the teacher. She was actually part of one of my leveled classes, and she's like, I don't know, I'm just struggling to get them to read the digraphs and pick out the words. So I said, okay. So I met with the students, and they each were assigned a digraph, so you could see CH, TH, and CK there. And they had to go through the book that they were reading, and they had to pick out those words. Then we had them put them onto Padlet, and they had to have an image associated with it. So they were not only reading the word, they had to find an image, and then they were able to share. They were each assigned a digraph, so then they taught each other, and then the teacher was going to ask those 3 students to come to their first grade group and share their digraphs with them. So really expanding the knowledge to all. When we get to Hagen, so this is an example of Perplexity. We use this for research. Right now I'm also assisting with the capstone project, so we're using this as well. So this is a different way of researching. The students are always encouraged to use the library databases, but for this one, the student was researching sun bears, which was a unique type of bear that none of our library databases seem to have. So they were able to type it into the search and then put at a 3rd grade level. They've been trained to do that, and then the facts do come up, and if the student cannot read what is on screen, then they are encouraged to use that read-write tool so it can be read to them. This particular site also gives them all of the links as to where this information comes from as well. This one was a 4th grade biography project. So each of the students picked someone that they wanted to research on their own. The classroom teacher had the students research the person using real books. They had to go to the library and take out a book. They took notes on that research. And then we used something called School AI, which is a chatbot feature where they could then chat with the person that they were researching. So we had a student doing Milton Hershey, and they went back and forth with the AI chatbot, and some of that information was not correct. So in this lesson, we were able to show the students, you can't always believe what's on AI, you do need to do your research. And even the simplest thing, they wanted to know Milton Hershey's favorite candy, so they were able to ask that to the AI chatbot. So really, really engaging different things. Whoa. This last Hagen example I'll show you is our capstone interview for their subject and their questions. So our students are encouraged to do an interview with somebody in the field. So as a 5th grader, they are asked to, try to find somebody in their field to interview and then ask questions. So to ask that of a 10-year-old can be difficult. So I created this chatbot for the students. They were able to put in their topic, and then it was able to help them formulate some of those questions. So when they were to go on that interview, they could ask, not simple yes or no questions, but give some more detail, and the person that they're interviewing could have a good conversation with that. So that was a really good use of that tool. For secondary, we use a variety of different things. I'm not too much in the secondary classes, so I don't have screenshots, but Notebook LM, which I will show you, is really, really great for students to help with their understanding. Canva, again, is a tool for graphics and presentations. Google AI and Perplexity, great for research. I did go into the science research classes at the beginning of the school year, and we talked about those. And then, of course, Gemini, so the students can make their own study materials or scaffolds if they want to. So what you're looking at here is a screenshot of what we call Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is a unique Google tool that allows teachers or students at the secondary level to upload up to 50 items of their curriculum. So it could be videos, it could be PDFs, it could be different websites. And then in the center, they can have a chat that only references what is provided to them. So it's not going out to the web to search for things, it's only the information that's being provided. So if the student, this was my sample that I worked on with the teachers, I was not a great social studies student. So I would have been able to come in here and chat with this chatbot to get a better understanding of what the topics were in social studies without feeling, oh, I can't ask in class kind of thing. Then on the right-hand side, the students can create these on their own, or their teachers can create these and pass them out. But the AI will create all sorts of things, and it's actually growing. A video, a podcast, flashcards, an infographic, a slide deck, all sorts of different study tools, a different mind map tool so you can see the relationships between things, all for the students. So I know when I was in school, I would have loved this tool because it would have helped me to synthesize the content, and then I could come back to this at finals time and review. So this is a really good tool, and we ourselves as adults have started to use this as well. So in conclusion, AI is all around us and it's not going away, but here at Stack and Kill we're able to kind of embrace it and kind of move forward. We are constantly learning, and we really appreciate the support of you as we go through this journey. Yeah. Any questions?
I have one really quick. When I use, say, Gemini, if I'm logged into Google, it knows who I am.
It does.
So how do you deal with that with the students and not having their personal information?
Right. So our Gemini account is linked as a student account through our Google Apps for Education, and Google themselves had signed our EdLaw 2D compliance. So with that signature, they are ensuring that they are not selling our student data. So that is how those students are able to use Gemini. Gemini is only on for secondary students. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. We're definitely very sensitive to their information.
We're all,
I
okay.
I have a quick question as well.
Sure.
Speaking from cyberspace,
Yeah.
I appreciate all the information and the examples. Examples particularly, I think, are helpful to me to get a sense of how it's being used, how AI is being used at different levels in the classrooms. And I'm encouraged, frankly, to see the ways in which you're helping students learn how to evaluate AI and interrogate it, push back even against it maybe a little bit. It seems like that's the implication. So happy to see that. I had a question specifically about the guidance. You mentioned the Leon Furs scale.
Yes.
That was I correct in understanding that the teachers have been using that scale to develop their own guidance policies for their classes? I'm thinking particularly at the secondary level, I guess, where students are working a little more independently. Do you know anything about that, or can you talk a little bit about how teachers are individually in their classes or collectively within departments generating the guidance that the students are getting?
So the guidance that we produced is district-wide guidance. Then it's up to the teacher if they would like to use AI in their classroom. Some of our teachers have said, no thanks, and we're okay with that. That's totally up to them at this point. But if they are choosing to use AI in their classroom, we provided the Leon Furs scale to give them some information. So you could be very clear with the students. Listen, you can use AI for this step and this step, but no, I don't want AI for the whole thing. Or nope, this assignment is absolutely no AI. So we just felt it necessary to put in those clear guidelines in our district guidelines, so that would be clear for the students. I hope to, if the teachers are using that guidance in their classroom, we encourage them, we can make it bigger, we can print it out for your students so it can be very clear, so then the students know the expectations as well.
I see, right. So it's the teachers, the individual teachers are then publicizing to their classes how what their guidance is and how students are supposed to be using AI and so forth.
Correct.
I imagine
and we definitely want our teachers, especially at the secondary level. Actually, one of my assignments in one of the level classes is for secondary students, or teachers, to create a syllabus statement. But also, now that this guidance is live, and it just kind of became live a month ago with our staff, moving forward, secondary staff should all have a syllabus statement regarding AI in their classroom.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking about this, sort of the term this like some kind of a syllabus statement.
Yeah.
Because that's become that's become very common in higher ed for sure. And I imagine it's, just being implemented at the secondary levels as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And I imagine there's a lot of conversation amongst teachers about what they're doing and collaborating on guidance statements and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely, and we encourage our staff to share with one another. When I run my level classes, usually the first class that we meet together is a lot of content. Then they are kind of off doing their assignments on our own, and the second night that we come together is sharing. Because we find that having that sharing time, they're getting ideas from one another, they're starting to collaborate. So I'm always anxious to say, hey, I saw this at a conference, maybe you want to try that. Or, hey, I know this teacher is doing that, maybe you want to try that. Because some of them are really nervous to kind of bring it into their classrooms, especially in our English department. But, there's definitely ways that we can incorporate it if the teachers are comfortable.
So, sticking with the teachers,
Yes.
you said 32% of teachers have already taken your courses?
At least one of those courses.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it mandatory in the future for this PD for the teachers? And are there any incentives for them to take courses?
There are incentives, so they do receive 6 clock hours for the course because it's after school hours. As far as mandatory at this time, we haven't made it mandatory, but that might be something we think about in the future. Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback on Sasha's for the personal development portion of it. They're all in-person ones?
So the evening classes are online via Google Meet. So we do 2 hours of live Google Meets, and then the rest is their asynchronous coursework. Yeah. And those are all via Google Classroom. So if you would like to see them, I'm happy to show them to you.
Are they, so that was going to be my next question, they're recorded, so there's like a library of these that...
So I do not record my live sessions during that time, but all of our Virtual Tech Academy stuff is recorded. So there's different ways that they can get it.
Just thinking of your 100 PDs that you had, if they were a library of them to see the progression as time goes on.
Some of them, and again, it wasn't just me teaching 100 times, which it feels like sometimes I do. But some of our tech fellows have also taught, or I'll reach out to companies that we partner with that have AI built into their system and ask them to come in and present. So all of our virtual tech stuff is live, but I find that the teachers really absorb it best when they're there the first time. They always have great intent to go back, but sometimes that just doesn't happen.
Understood. Thank you.
I would say, at a personal level, I've had multiple teachers, encourage us to use AI for, planning. I'm working on a project right now where they said you could use it for, to get ideas, but then not for anything else. And then I was doing a research paper in the beginning of the year where we could use it to find sources. We then had to, vet ourselves. We could use it to, find questions and find sources. So there definitely are teachers encouraging use in my school.
That's great to hear.
Thank you.
So much myself.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as to get everyone kind of a top view, with some of the guidance you got, but also wanted people to kind of see what was happening at the ground level. A lot of good stuff, and I think we're only touching, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to come in the next coming years. And I feel we're in a good spot today.
Yeah, it's ever changing for sure.
Almost.
Okay, great, thank you. That brings us to 6.02, our elementary administration update.
Good evening, everyone. So we haven't had an elementary update in a while. We've been doing kind of goals and tenure. So it's been a lot happening in the past couple months. First, I do want to recognize our OM teams, particularly the one from Hagen. They're a Problem 4 team. Life is a ball. There's 7 of them that are gung-ho and excited to go to Iowa coming up at the end of May. And they're really excited. We're going to do a little kickoff before they leave on Memorial Day at dismissal time. And Mrs. Skorlik puts a lot of energy and effort behind those teams. Our parent volunteer coaches, the countless hours that I see them after school at Hagen. And then the kids, they didn't do as well as they wanted to in states last year, and they kind of made it their mission that they wanted to go to Worlds, and they wanted World jackets, and they were going to do it, and they committed. And I know the Todd team had that same goal, so it's pretty cool and unique, I would say, to have two teams going to Worlds at the end of May. So we're pretty excited for that, and certainly we'll send them off in the right direction. And you never know how we do. So wish them nothing but luck. In the meantime, we also had quite a few assemblies and presentations at Hagen. I got to give credit to Mr. Onwick, who organized our masked singer presentation. The students had no idea. Essentially, they came to the cafeteria wondering what we were doing, and a bunch of teachers and myself, Dr. Fanuel, probably could have predicted that one, decided to dress up in some blow-ups and some mascot uniforms and do different songs and dances and routines. Mr. Onwick plays the drums. No one really knew that, so he dressed up as Animal from the Muppets. Everything was really fitting. The energy was super exciting. Mr. Andreas was doing the music. Mrs. Skorlik was emceeing. It was such a unique and cool experience, and the kids had an absolute blast trying to figure out who was underneath the mask. So that was really cool. As I mentioned earlier in the year, we brought back our drama club at Hagen, which was a huge feat and a huge undertaking. So Mrs. Battersby and Miss Gracie Miller, who took it on, hit the ground running in December, end of December, got a couple practices in before a holiday break, and then really January to the end of March, put together a fantastic show of Matilda Jr. We learned a lot along the way. We haven't had a drama club in a while, so I think the week before, Miss Battersby came to me and said, "Do you know how to work the lights?" And I said, "We have lights?" "Do you know how to work the mics?" "Did we have mics?" And I learned how to work both. So it was really cool, and I'm excited for where this can go. We had over 50 kids partake, 4th and 5th grade, so their energy came from being a part of the youth cast of Little Mermaid, so now that momentum carried them to create their own show, and I'm sure the sky's the limit as we move into next year. We've been doing the WizFit Challenge. You maybe heard about this in the community. The Wizards are a huge hit. Any year they come for the game. We do the game every other year to kind of build that anticipation. So in the off year, they run a fundraiser challenge where they get kids moving. They show videos in PE classes, and they're doing different exercises, and they can get family members and relatives and friends to pledge money. And we're doing very well. Nassau is beating Hagen. I think Mr. Lynch has certain bribes that's going on, but it's been great. They put us kind of in the center. They're trying to earn a chance to slime me and Mr. Lynch at field day. I believe I'm getting pied too. I'm serving ice cream and serving lunch. So just throw anything out there and I'll do it, I guess. So, but the kids are really excited about it, and we just had our graduation assembly yesterday, and the kids were up and moving. It was really cool. We are in the midst of all that. We're giving state tests. So we just gave science today for our 5th grade. The week before, we gave our ELA. I have to give a huge shout out to Marcella here. Everything's on computer. Now it was a progressed kind of way, but now 3rd grade through 5th and through 8th, everything's on the computer. So I'm thankful she's there, because there's sometimes a lot of triage and computer technical difficulties or lack of charged Chromebooks that might need to be handled. And her and I kind of collaborate on making sure it runs smooth, and it's been very smooth. We also have our running team. Yeah, Hagen's turning it into a middle school with the amount of clubs we got running. We have over 185 kids. It just keeps growing on our running team. And they are preparing for their 5K coming up on May 21st. So that's always a really cool community event to come out. We have a bunch of high school volunteers, and the kids run from Hagen campus all the way and finish on the football field. Just an awesome time. And you'll see that the leaders of the pack are really just a unit and wanting to cross the finish line together. So it's a really cool moment. And we have a bunch of trips coming up. So we are going to Sharp pretty soon, the 5th graders. 13th, 14th, and 15th of May. We have cool presentations and the stay over, so we're excited for that. 4th grade's doing a double trip. They're going to Albany and the state capitol like they normally do, but they're also going to be adding the Hudson Valley Boat Tour, which we did kind of the year after COVID, when the Capitol was kind of still not allowing groups. But we're going to do both. So they're going to take Rip Van Winkle tour because the Hudson Valley was so crucial to New York State. So they'll get to learn that. That's part of their social studies curriculum. And then, of course, the 3rd grade go to their annual Bronx Zoo trip in early June. So lots of going on, and we're pretty excited. Mr. Lynch?
Mr. Souza, will you be emceeing the run?
I will be emceeing, DJing, and yeah, that's my favorite spot. Not running. That's for sure.
All right, good evening, everyone. So, as Mr. D'Souza had mentioned, I think the last time we gave an elementary report may have been February, and then we did a data presentation, 10-year AI. So, when I was kind of going over some of the events that I wanted to highlight, I don't think we actually spoke about the Winter Carnival, which was a first-time event. It kind of, the idea came from, sadly, Field Day at Nassau, probably for the first time ever being canceled. One time for rain, the next time for heat. So this was kind of a give back, and it was an experiment. And so it was a huge hit. So we had it at the high school. Marco was scared to death that we were going to damage the court, and I'm happy to say there was no damage, but truly we probably need multiple, I don't know if we need multiple buildings, but certainly multiple locations, maybe the cafeteria in addition, classrooms, because I know that the Souza gang was there, the Lynch group was there, the 6 of us, and it was like, in a big gym, you're walking around like this. And as much fun as the kids had with the obstacle courses and like traditional carnival games and cotton candy, personally, my favorite part by far, Mr. Kohler's kids were there, were really the older kids and watching the high schoolers volunteer their time and really act as big brothers and big sisters to the little kids. It was kind of old school in some ways, in that the little kids were kind of like just running around like anxious generation-ish, and it was just a wonderful community event. So I think that's something that will definitely turn into kind of a staple for us. A few other events I just want to hit on. You always hear about pumpkin runs and turkey trots. We did have a Spring into Spring at Nassau, which was a nice success, and we had a beautiful day for it, so that was great. Mr. Cohen came over for Alex's lemonade, and that has turned into a Nassau tradition where our students, I don't even think we say that we sell the lemonade. I think people can give donations, but it's wonderful for the kids to give to a cause that matters to them, and this in particular gives money to childhood cancer. So wonderful event. Thank you to Town of Poughkeepsie PD and the Dutchess County Sheriffs for being such a great presence there again. Kindergarten screening. The last couple years we did it over 2 days, and I'm happy to share that we had to push it to 3 days because we have a larger kindergarten class. So we had 89 students, which is a lot for this time of year, coming for kindergarten screening. That went really well. We got to know them. We got to know the families. They learned about us. We learned about them. So we actually have the students coming in again next week for the Nassau Book Fair. The WizFit Challenge, Mr. D'Souza, I'm glad he kind of prefaced it with, Nassau's winning. He didn't say it was, by thousands of dollars, but, Nassau is up by thousands of dollars. But no, in all seriousness, they are entertainers, they are pros, and really have had our kids buying into staying physically fit. And, we see it in classrooms, we see it in the gym. We've had multiple assemblies with the Wizards, and they had the culminating activity was they came back in person and they had us moving and shaking. It was wonderful. So Nassau did hit our goal, which was $6,000, so again, I will be getting slimed. And I think I'm going to try to get on the Hagen announcements to convince them to keep working to get to that $6,000 mark so that I can help with the Mr. D'Souza slime. A few events coming up. Our second graders actually go to Hagen. That's next week to kind of meet Mr. D'Souza, meet the teachers, tour the building. We have our creation station, which is our second graders who essentially make inventions, and we do a gallery walk with the whole school. That is an event organized by Mrs. Zonka and Mrs. Boyce. We have our kindergarten concert coming up, and then a couple field trips, one of which I think it's at Bowdoin Park for our first graders next week, and I think it's like a high of 52 or something, so that's a shame, but I know they'll make the best of it. And then we actually have 2 grade levels, and I don't think this has happened since I've been here, that are both going to the walkway, and that'll consist of an educational piece, but also just, hopefully a nice day being with their friends and walking across the Hudson River. So, thank you. I guess we could shift, if that's all right, Sandra. So Dr. Fanuelli had asked if we would just share some of our building insight in regards to some of the upgrades with food this year in the cafeteria. So Sandra's just going to bring up a couple slides.
Richard, I sent this to you via email just in case Board Docs goes down.
Good, I've got it here. I can see it.
Good.
On the Board Docs, yeah. Thanks.
Presentation, Mr. Lynch.
Yeah, are you hungry? All right, so I'll start off by saying that, traditionally when someone starts in a new position mid-year, you typically want to just keep things going in the direction that they're going. And so, Larry Anthony, when he took over this year, and he came to one of our cabinet meetings or principals meeting, and he was seeking feedback from the principals and kind of presenting some of his plans, and we were kind of like, well, this is for now, not for next year. And we were really excited, but it was very quickly, he made some shifts that I think have really been exciting as a district and as a building. I think every week the kids and the staff are very curious what's going to be happening in that kitchen. And so the first thing that I just wanted to point out that I think is really neat, he's made a point to buy more from New York farms and vendors. And I think generally speaking, I think we can say that the food is probably fresher when it's coming from our community. So a couple of things, and this is just from the April menu that's on the website. So we have New York steamed green beans, New York apples and pears, New York buttered peas, New York buttered squash. Here's a picture of our New York nachos with cheese, New York buttered greens, and buttered corn. So we think that's pretty cool. All right, shifting to pizza.
So I actually had a PTA meeting the night before Pizza Palooza, and they all grilled me on what is Pizza Palooza, and I had no idea. I was as curious and as excited as the parents were and the kids were, and it turned out to be an amazing surprise. Personal pizzas that the kids got to dress up their own way, so they had all different toppings available. Fresh basil, which actually came from the Todd Garden, which I'll talk about in a second. Roasted peppers, pineapple and ham, meat lovers and pepperoni, and classic cheese. So we got their pizza's a pretty decent day at Hagen and Nassau. Most kids love pizza at this age. So, but to dress it up like this, took it to a new level. And that's just kind of one small example of how this revampment has created energy and excitement around the food program for sure. So, like I was saying, the nice piece and kind of a great piece for us is Elise Joy has the garden here at Todd, and they were able to take the herbs that they had grown here and use that as part of the basil that was used for the pizza. So what an interesting connection for kids to make. Like, it's meaningful, you're growing this, it's something that's sustainable, and now you get to eat it. So it's a memorable experience in itself. Not only did the Pizza Palooza kind of create the curiosity, the basil coming from Todd kind of made it feel like home for them, which is a really nice piece. And that's just a small example. I have plenty of examples today. Today was chili. Like, that's something the Hagen kids have never seen. So they were really excited about the chili. On St. Patty's Day, they did corned beef. I was skeptical, but the kids absolutely loved it. And they were glad to have an authentic Irish meal. Tomorrow's General Tao's, which is my favorite. So we'll see how that goes. But there's just been a whole slew of things. The side salads, you can see a little bit of that on the side. Every kid, as they go through, gets a small side salad. Usually it's fighting tooth and nail with kids, especially 3-5, to take a vegetable and a fruit. Now they're like, oh wow, those strawberries look great. The grapes, they're all fresh and available and easy for them to pick and make their choice. And there's a smattering of choices that they get to make. It's not just you get a banana today. It's I can choose what I like. So that's been really nice. The fresh fruit, the fresh salads. Every day is a different type of salad. So if a kid doesn't want the hot lunch, they can order the chef salad of the day, or they can order the chicken Caesar salad of the day. So even the side menu has really been revamped. We have trips coming up, and obviously we have families that may not be able to afford, providing them with money to buy lunch there. He's great. He has a menu of to-go items that parents can choose from. And I even was working with him on field day. Traditionally, we've been giving pizza for field day. He's like, let's do a barbecue. So he's ready. He wants to grill. He wants to have the whole line set up with baked beans and hot dogs and hamburgers. He's like, come on, pizza's easy. Let's do. I was like, all right, fine. So there's a lot of energy and excitement. And the best part of it, and the part that's impressed me the most, is when he's there, he's out there in the cafeteria talking to kids. He's sitting down with fourth graders. One fourth grader said, I really want sushi. And he came right to me and said, I think we can do it. I'm like, really? Now you're really like blowing us out of the water. But, so he's wanting that feedback from principals, teachers, parents, and kids. The customers themselves that are really giving him that positive feedback. So.
Yeah, I just want to say this on the record that we talk about equity and equality, and if Hagen gets sushi, Nassau should get sushi. So I did want to touch on a couple of statistics that I think are meaningful, and they are not just connected to an improvement in food, but just to remind everybody that this year across New York State, all students are entitled to not just a free lunch, but also a free breakfast. And so I'll read a quote from Miss Mandy in our cafeteria that I think kind of sums it up pretty well. She said, the kids seem very happy with the changes. They're loving the choices with the fresh fruits and vegetables. And we are noticing that they're taking much more of it. Also, and I'm glad she said this second part, because I hear about this second part a lot. I have teachers that are popping in throughout the entire day just to see what food we have. And this was in our newsletter, but like if you think about 40 pounds of broccoli, traditionally that's the food that a lot of our students don't like to eat. And I think it looks appetizing, and they definitely are eating more greens, which is phenomenal. Our breakfast numbers are exploding compared to what they used to be. And so it's 3 times the amount that it was last year. Our lunch volume is double, and it's created a problem. And we've talked about extra recess and extra free play, and at some point I had some students, second graders, that came to me and they said, Mr. Lynch, we feel like we're not getting outside. The line is too long. So instead of having the traditional 100 kids in the cafeteria, and now you have twice the amount of kids in line. So if you're the last kid in that line, you could be the last student out on the playground. We actually had to split the 100 in half, and they flip halfway through the class to kind of solve that problem. But again, we think that's a phenomenal problem to have, and we were happy to do it. And that's it, just a couple pictures to close with. Thank you. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I would definitely like to say thank you, Dr. Penuelli, and both of you for doing the presentation. I actually had it written down for a future, I think I had mentioned to Dan a while ago that hoping to have an update on where it's at, and this is awesome to hear. I mean, I get it, what we do and what the district does to take us to the next level is always great, and it's great to hear at the meetings, but this is something that's really exciting, something that, me personally, I'm sure the whole board is very happy to hear. I have heard a lot of, I can't remember if it's Larry's last.
Larry Anthony.
So Mr.
Sometimes get
Anthony's-
confused, they call
Okay.
him Anthony
That
as
was
the
Mr.
first
Larry
name, yeah.
All right, so I have heard from both my son and my daughter that Mr. Anthony is constantly out there speaking with the students and seeing how they like it and what they want to see next, and the excitement that they come home with of what's new on the menu is a total difference from where we were at previously. So I hope it continues in this direction, and hope we can find somebody that can meet those standards in the future as it goes on. But thank you both, and thank you, Mr. Anthony, for bringing this. Thank you, Dr. Penuelli, for finding and bringing it.
I think by having him, it's created a pathway for whoever we do find. Again, he's only an interim, he's retired. I'm glad he answered my call, right? But he's created a pathway of what can happen, and his connections to the New York stuff have been really instrumental. And we'd like to kind of keep him around, a little bit for the new person, so they might see his name requested as part of like some sort of consultant or something. I don't know what we would call it, but it's just been interesting to see. It's kind of like a de facto third goal, that we had this year. It wasn't. I think one time we talked about it, but so to see it come out like this has just been pretty cool.
Is there any feedback from the middle school or high school students?
There's definitely a lot more kids getting on Journey Day, and I think a lot more like excitement too about like the options and the quality and all of that.
Thank you, John.
Really appreciate the banter and the healthy competition between the buildings. I'd love to see that keep going.
I don't know how healthy it is.
I think it's healthy, very healthy. Okay, that brings us to 6.03, a discussion, petition of the Lower Hudson Education Coalition for an informational proceeding to examine electric utility readiness to support school bus fleet electrification. That's a lot to say.
So was this handed out last time? What was the discussion? I happened to miss. I missed the last discussion at the last board meeting on this item. Maybe Rich talked about it? Dr. Horvath? Yeah.
So that is attached to board docs as well, but I also have hard copies because I didn't know if we were going to be up or down. So I do have extra copies if anybody wants a hard copy, but it is posted.
I guess we just would see the board's interest in writing the letter or using the template to write the letter, because that's something we could approve here at a board meeting. So we didn't really have that discussion. So I guess now we can have that discussion. So
the
they all,
standard one.
they all pretty much follow that template. The districts that have sent it, I think have used that template. It's really just to encourage a full, for our public utilities to look at, a full study on the capacity and what would be needed to have, if everyone had electric buses. I think the feeling is, the study might show that it'd be quite difficult to support. So, it's not necessarily a letter saying don't do it, don't have electric buses. It's are we ready for the, I don't say consequences, what will happen if this goes through, and what are the unintended costs, let alone the intended costs.
Do you have a sense of the efficacy of mass mailings of template letters that are all very similar? I mean, do we really feel that is something that tends to gain steam with New York State, or do we think we should modify this a bit to make it our own a little bit?
We could modify it. I don't know if modifying will have a different effect than that. I think it's just hearing from, it's a way, to be heard. It's, I would say it's like signing a petition, but it's like saying, we think you should do this. We're welcome to modify it. I don't know if it's necessary, because it's not like something that generated from us only, we kind of caught wind of it through Dr. Horvath, through the Dutchess School Board Association and the advocacy group, the LEHC, the Lower Education, I believe I have the letters correct.
LHEC.
Yeah. But we can, it's up to the board. I think approving it and wanting to send it would be a good thing.
Like Dr. Horvath has had a lot of time for these meetings and hearing from the other districts and what's going on. To get a lot of insight on what he's been hearing from these meetings.
As I said briefly, we only talked about this briefly last meeting, but the conversations, the discussion in the Dutchess County School Board Association meetings has been not so much this year, but going back into last year more so. Pretty engaged, quite engaged, I would say. I think there's a lot of concern across the districts about, the feasibility vis-a-vis costs, and particularly regarding the infrastructure. That came to a head pretty quickly, I think, or surfaced as a primary concern, and that's, as I read this template, the petition more broadly, which is longer, of course, and then the letter, the template letter, that's really the focus, I think, is the viability of the infrastructure. And that's frankly what I like, one of the things I like most about the letter. The template I'm speaking of here is the way it focuses on the infrastructure. The third paragraph of the template, I'm in full agreement with myself personally. Paragraph that states that the district supports the long-term goal of transitioning to electric buses, but feels we need more information. We feel we need more information about the infrastructure. And as for the thoughts about customizing it, if you kind of read through the template carefully, probably 30% of it would be customized anyway if we just fill in our district's own information. So I guess my feeling is, unless there's strong concerns about any parts of it, it might be just the simplest and most straightforward thing to do is to adopt the template, insert our own information, and then see what it looks like as a draft, maybe at a future meeting, and then we could go from there. I don't know if there's any information about the timeline for this, like when they're advocating that this be submitted. My guess is as soon as possible, but I don't think there's a particular deadline, say.
Many districts have already sent it, so I would say if we
ASAP.
decide and we approve it next, lucky or unlucky, we have a meeting next week, so I think that timetable would be fine. If the
Right.
board is wishing us to, to adopt, but to put forth our information in it, and we could just bring it back next week with it completed, right, Sam? And
See what it looks like, yeah.
And then,
Well, I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah,
I did have a question about the part of it that is the most open-ended is if people are looking at the document, the template letter document, the top of the second page where it has 3 options. You know, I guess some clarification about where specifically we stand as a district regarding those 3 options, which have to do with whether a fleet electrification plan has been completed yet, essentially. So we would take one of those options, presumably, and I'm not sure where we stand exactly with that.
I don't know if we have the dollar amounts, approximate amount of each provision.
I mean, I know this has been part of, Dr. Fanuele, this has been part of the energy audit, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I could look at it.
Yeah.
Well, we have had them come in now. They came in and told us if we have capacity or not. Do you need to see this also?
We did have a study done, so option A would apply for the district.
Do you have an estimated capital cost?
We do, it's in the plan. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what the total number was, but it was estimated for our size buses, it would be somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 to purchase each bus and a charger. And then we would have the installation costs, and we would probably need to upgrade the service from Central Hudson, since it would be where the bus is currently parked now, which is off Court Road.
Right.
I think it would also be important to add a statement in there that we have outside district transportation contracts, and I'm expecting that the facility and infrastructure improvements they're gonna have to make is just gonna be a pass-through cost right to our district as part of using that contract. So, and that's an unknown that I think also adds to the strength of the statement that we have, which is how can we plan for this when we don't even know what outside sources are going to charge us?
So I have a
Maybe,
question.
so perhaps, because the second paragraph in the template speaks to, you know, whether we have our own fleet or whether we utilize, contractor operated element or, component of the fleet. So if we identify that there, then maybe we have some version of option A paragraph. There could be a sentence in there that speaks to what Dan just noted.
That we're a hybrid.
Those costs would be, are unknown to us, essentially.
So my question is, who's reading this? So, I mean, if they're not gonna read it, it doesn't make sense for us to do all of that, just use the template. If she's gonna read it, we could put, whatever we wanna put in this, letter, but they can receive it and just put it down as received and not even read it.
Yeah, but I think when our advocacy groups are talking, we could say that, hey, we know that a number of letters have come to you, what's your position on that, because they ask if we sent one or not, so, our groups are probably keeping track of that. What we'll do, it's the same thing with everything, but it's at least we are voicing our thoughts, But I agree, use the template, maybe add a sentence or two to show our concern for being a hybrid district and the unknowns. Look at it next week, and if it's good, send it out.
Is there anything in here or thought of as far as when we switch over to electric, what our electric bill is going to look like after that. My electric bill is off the hook right now. I mean, it's just like exploding. So to add, 10, 12 charging stations and have to charge a bus twice a day. I'm just
I mean,
wondering what
that's
we're
an
looking at for that.
estimated cost that it's hard to predict because we don't know what the rates are gonna be, we don't know what the rates are gonna be in a month. And the district's plan, at least for us, would be to gradually add it so we can see the incremental increase as we add buses.
I mean, sure, on this other side of it, there will be a decrease in the amount that we're spending on fuel for the buses. that we
And
currently have.
probably increased costs on maintenance because this would now be a specialized kind of maintenance to have electric buses.
And has there been anything as far as when there's like a field trip, that's
That's one of the
certain
biggest
distance away or anything?
unknowns is how these buses would be charged because every bus does not have the same charger. They are specific to the manufacturer. So we go to another school and they have bought their buses from someone else, we couldn't necessarily use their chargers. So that's, battery capacity has always been kind of the wild card in this whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's something I would think we should have in this as well. That's a concern of ours.
Yeah, that's a universal concern.
Yes,
It's-
I like
And we're a
that.
small district.
Yeah.
So for us to have our buses, battery is not that big a deal, but some of the more rural districts upstate that cover hundreds of miles,
There's a
they
lot
really have a
of
problem.
schools of thought on it. It's where when if other schools come to us for something, they're gonna plug in here, and when we go there, they'll plug in there. I'm hoping something will be universal with the charging, because that is
We just haven't gotten
something
there
that's
yet.
talked about a lot, is that if we go to BOCES and park, then BOCES might have to, if BOCES is listening, might have to have us plug in. And for the field trips that go a long way, we have to have some sort of conversation. We probably will have time for that, because we'll probably still use the gas buses as we're working through this, for those. And a lot of that might be solved with, there's a lot of districts that aren't our size, and they have to travel a greater distance, so they'll have to work out on where they charge, and they have to charge after they drop kids off, charge, and then come back. And then there's you mentioned it, the downstream costs. So if all this electricity usage goes up, not even just for us, but does it cost more for everyone, for you, your electricity, because we're using more on the grid or not, So that's something too that they talk about, the downstream. It's not even like, well, it's going to cost the district more because of this. It might just cost more. And I think that's part of what this is asking. So let's have the public utility companies do a full report on this is what could happen.
And plus, would they have the
Yeah,
capacity?
that's my understanding of it as well, is that those more specific questions about the different types of chargers and so forth, those are all the sort of next phase issues. What this is calling for is a study by the Public Utility Commission, about what kind of infrastructure, would be needed and so forth. And I think we get into all of those kinds of all of those details would have to be addressed as a offshoot or an outshoot of this study, or a part of it, probably.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there.
And what Richard brought up before with the third paragraph, that he personally supports the state's long-term transition goal. I don't know if I do, and it's okay if the entire board does. And it's not that, I do support the thought of the air quality and the future and all of that. I just don't think the technology's quite there right now that we could meet the state's long-term goals. So I don't think I personally support the state's long-term goal. I do support the idea of a zero emission transportation for everybody, not just schools, for anything. I just don't really think the technology's there right now that I agree with the state's long-term goal as they have it set right now. Me personally.
It's a little misleading anyway. I mean, zero emission, when you have coal plants that are powering our grid, is not zero emission. But I understand what you're saying.
They're also talking about there's no there are no parameters indicated in terms of what the long-term goal is. I mean, it's not saying it's gonna happen by X date, I don't think necessarily.
What, I'm gonna say by the
2035.
2035, we should be.
2035 is the date.
Right, but this petition doesn't indicate that. Doesn't indicate any agreement
That's-
with that
that
timeline.
That first sentence says that we support the state's long-term goals. So the
Right.
way I read that would be that we support the the 2035 year or the 2027, that we can no longer purchase the buses,
Right, well-
emissions bus.
I think you'd have to fill in that blank, yourself then. I mean, I don't think as it reads that it implies agreement with a particular date. Just it implies agreement with the overall goal.
I think if we remove the word state, so Spectrum Union Free School District supports the goal of transition,
Yeah.
but not that's,
Yeah.
the goal could be in 80 years from now,
Right.
when the more information comes out that says, right? Because we're just worried about the cost, like if all those questions are answered, I equate this to like gas stations, right? But there wasn't a gas station everywhere when cars first came out, right? That infrastructure was built up over the years, so that's what we would need to happen, for that to happen. It's like a Walgreens on every corner. We're not there yet.
Right.
It's not a gas station.
I agree. I would appreciate if we reworded that portion of it.
So we'll take a shot at rewording it, and then we'll take a look at all of that. So what we're asking is to reword that, maybe just remove that state, and add a sentence or two about the hybridness of us and our concern, right? Those are the two asks, and then use the rest of the template with option A, and then we'll have that here a week from now, and we can make adjustments at that point, and if not, we'll agree to send it.
Will we have an estimated approximate capital cost at that point? What all the buses will cost, the infrastructure, all the stuff that you mentioned?
We can give an estimate based on what the plan puts together, yes.
Yeah, well, to be specific, I don't think the template in paragraph in that option A is asking for an estimate for a total number of buses. I think it's asking for an estimated capital cost regarding the infrastructure. If we fill in that, key infrastructure requirements,
Yeah.
a newly dedicated utility service connection of approximately X, new switchgear, distribution trench conduit, they're talking about the infrastructure, not the numbers of buses in the fleet necessarily there, right?
Yes, that would be, because this letter again is geared more towards the capacity of the,
Right.
so it wouldn't be asking for the,
So the estimated capital cost is approximately blank, that would be an estimate of the capital cost of the infrastructure, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even adding
That's
a
in our
statement
plan.
about the, those extra costs for the actual buses themselves too, outside of the infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the infrastructure would be the installation of the chargers and what upgrade we need to the electrical system,
Right.
and electrical sources.
Right.
I mean, in theory, that might also lead to, if we have a cold winter like we did this year, that we may find that we need to start putting our buses into garages and heating the garages to keep them a little bit warmer. I know that, for wastewater treatment plants, we like to do a lot of our heavy activity overnight because you're paying at a lesser rate normally for your electricity at night. So that's something that also, if we had all of our buses had to get plugged in at a certain time, maybe we have to have personnel come back at 10 o'clock at night to plug them in, so there's a lot of moving parts there that lead to other unknown costs.
That's why I think that's why we need a study.
Yeah.
I think, right? Yeah.
Which reminded me of when we had to make long distance calls after 9. Because there was less traffic on.
Battery technology is changing too all the time.
Yeah, well, that's a good hope too, Richard, right? I mean, the technology has to get better. And I was in a meeting with Dee Dee Barrett and a number of school board members, and we're having that discussion. And the folks in Pine Plains said, based on the current buses and their battery capacity, they thought they'd have to have 2 buses for every run. They'd have to have a morning bus and an afternoon bus because they wouldn't be able to charge it in time
Right.
to have the big routes that they have for their runs in the afternoon. So it's really interesting.
Right. Right.
So we have our marching orders, the 2 things, just to be clear, we're gonna add a sentence about the hybridness and remove state to make that a little bit palatable. Get both, 2 things. All right, good.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Brings us to 7.01, board correspondence. I don't have any. So that's good. Let's go on to 7.02, comments from the public on non-agenda items. No public comments. Okay, comments from the board, 7.03. Anybody?
I do. I'd like to thank Poughkeepsie Rural Cemetery for their donation that was approved tonight for the Odyssey of the Mines, and also the Skagit Hill PTA for the bird prey donation at Sharp. They do a lot for us, both the PTA and the Poughkeepsie Rural Cemetery, just in general, for a lot of organizations. So, circle of recognition for their support. I meant to bring it up during the goals portion of it. I forgot. The energy audit, the safety audit, and the master inventory. Is that something that we are getting a copy of to review like the other audits? We get?
You can, it's not required like the financial audits for the board to approve.
Okay.
But yes, once
Yeah,
they're finalized,
that's
we can give you
fine.
copies of those.
Yeah, if it's possible to look at the energy audit, safety audit, and the master inventory, and the building level and district level assessments, is that something that's?
Well, the master inventory has all of that.
That's what I was asking, is that the same thing?
It's, the master inventory is a composite of all this. So if you get the master, you get everything.
Okay. Okay, so if we get the master, I actually would still like to get the energy one and the safety one, just to review those ones. I know it's probably in the master, or combination of it, but I'd still like to see the energy one and the safety one in addition to the master one. And lastly, I'm very impressed again by where the district is at with AI. You know, the last meeting was super impressive, you know, at the district level, and now hearing where it's at now, I mean, it's just really, really great. I mean, I know it was one of the district goals and Dr. Fanuelli's goals this year, and I'm very impressed by the direction that it's going. Again, the confidence that everybody's showing to bring to the table on this topic. It's just really, really impressive. So thank you for all the work everybody's been doing on that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Richard?
No comments.
Okay. I have a statement I prepared before the meeting. It's, based on some recent events, it's somewhat repetitive to some things I've said in the past, but it also ties in with our discussion of the AI this evening. So I thought I'd just read it and so when you hear something day after day, there is a tendency to believe it. Words matter. When we live through years of hearing that this is war or that our political opponents are existential threats, we shouldn't be surprised when individuals feel driven to take desperate and violent actions. An assassination attempt on our president or any elected official is an absolute rejection of the values we all hold dear. As we approach our nation's milestone birthday, we should be celebrating our success and our ability to have civil debates without the fear of physical harm. We should be listening, compromising, and finding strength in our diversity of opinions. Instead, we are seeing a cycle of division and hatred. As we discussed certain goals of the district this evening, I'm reminded of why our mission at Spack & Hill is so critical. One of our prime targets is to teach students how to think, not what to think. We know the obstacles our children face, There's rhetoric-heavy leadership, algorithms designed to limit diverse content, and biased media landscape. And therefore, I'm calling on our administration to continue reinforcing our commitment to critical thinking. We must equip our students with the tools to obtain information from multiple sources, to recognize the pitfalls of one-sided thinking, and to understand that civil discourse is and always has been the only true path to progress. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to 7.04, comments from our superintendent.
I'm supposed to talk after that? Thank you for your statement. You know, just, I didn't know what you were going to say, but just in general, the critical thinking is something that I think we've always taken pride on, that we do here at Spack and Kill. So I think that is just in line with everything that we do, what you said. And even with the AI coming, like we said, we do have the human approach. And Marcella, you could help me. It's always human in the loop, right? Is that the expression? That it's not just using human is making the decisions based on what's happening. That's our goal. We're not looking to do the cognitive offloading. You know, we're trying to make sure it's a tool, but only a tool. Not an excuse for not thinking. So that has been our approach. I think that's a little bit kind of built in our goals, is to really have that. I mean, as you saw, it was written with the human piece there, and that has been always at the forefront. And even the PDs we go to, it always says that. The human in the loop was the last thing we went to, and I think, don't we have another one on Thursday?
We do. With Gary.
And it changes every time we do it. Is it monthly? We do the AI in 30, and the first half of it is this is what I told you last time, but now it's changed to this. So that's why you saw the ongoing on there. So we'll keep up with that. Just a couple other things. Just really wanted to thank Marcella. She's been very helpful with everything, and just the importance of even her position. Right? You don't realize that when you were hired 10 years ago. AI. We weren't talking about that at all. So it just shows how she's adapting to the need. And she's been very good for us, even as administrators, with that. Piggyback on Mr. D'Souza and Mr. and Todd's OM team. Wish them luck. That's pretty exciting. Mr. Cohen talked about the birds of prey. I know John and I, when we go to the Sharp, like we always try to be there for the birds of prey. I think we missed it last year, but the other times, it's definitely a cool thing to see. So that's pretty cool. So I'll end with that.
Great, thank you so much. All right, that brings us to 9:01. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Enthusiastically.
Aye, that passes 5-0. Thank you, and we'll see you in one short week.
Right.